Yeah, how's it going, guys? It's Richie Unicorn Caller here, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We are back with a brand new kind of guide of a video, and yes, we are drinking today. Yeah, we're tipsy. I hope this offends everybody. But yeah, we are basically going to be showing you every single training point location, or basically some of the main ones, because we just had this recent update, and we also have free training point buyback. So I wanted to make this video as quick as possible just so you can take advantage of this and also kind of get a few tips and tricks about how you can save your training points. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So like I said, it is free training point buyback. So we are actually going to go to Ravenwood Academy, or Ravenwood, not the academy, but, you know, Ravenwood. And we're basically going to reset all of our training points. Now, we also are going to be doing the Spellment trick, which, if you don't know, the Spellment trick is basically just training up to a certain spell and then maximizing or at least using your Spellments with it, and then that will basically be kind of like a checkpoint for you. So you'll see it pop up right now, and it says that you cannot buy back training points for the following spells because some of them have been upgraded via spell writing. And this is definitely what you want to see because this will basically help us save some points. So for example, we trained the Skeletal Pirate because we need Skeletal Pirate in order to get Faint, and that's why we basically use Spellments for a Skeletal Pirate. That will basically help us get Faint very easily without having to spend the 50 billion training points as well. So, and you know, we have a bunch of other stuff that I have as a preference. I also like using the Scarecrow spell as well. But yeah, you're basically going to want to reset your training points. Hopefully you have a membership, because this is probably one of my favorite membership benefits. And then after that, you're going to want to look in your spellbook and then look at how many training points you have. So far right now, currently we have 62 training points. Now we would have more, but again, we're using some of the spells that we have in spell writing as a little checkpoint. So first things first, let's just start off with all of these spells, I guess, in Ravenwood. Now you're going to see these trees, and these trees will actually have some of the new Selenopolis spells. Now, in order to actually learn these, you're actually going to need the required Selenopolis spells. So, for your own school quest, all you have to do is basically just quest and do the introductory, I guess, prologue of Selenopolis, and then you'll see a thing pop up on the right hand of your screen, and that will basically take you to your Arcanum professor, and you'll basically learn how to use that spell, and then you'll obtain that spell, and then once you obtain that spell, you can actually obtain the spells from the trees, which are basically fusion spells, in a sense. You'll get them for free, but if you're off-schooling, it will cost a training point. Now, you don't really necessarily need them for off-schooling, in a sense. You can also unlock them via spell writing if you're another school, but yeah, just thought I might share that with you. Now, make sure if you are doing spell fusions, make sure that you do the tutorial for that so that it will enable it, or you just know how to use spell fusion in general. Spell fusions are pretty fun to have in your spell book. I think they're pretty fun. I don't really think they're necessary in a sense, but they are nice to use. You know, they are a pretty cool mechanic in the game. But anyway, let's start off with going to the School of Storm. Now, I am a life wizard that has weaved into storm magic, so we're basically going to be specializing in a lot of storm magic. Since I do play with a lot of storm wizards from time to time, I'm actually going to unlock Windstorm, and the reason we can do that is because I have one of the other spells required, which is Kraken. Now, we've upgraded Kraken via the spell writing, and that's basically where the spell writing trick comes in handy, because instead of having to train up all those other spells, all we have to do is basically train up Windstorm, and that's pretty much it. As you can see, we already have Kraken upgraded. You only have to upgrade it at least to a second tier, so that way it registers as, oh, you've upgraded this spell to spell writing and stuff like that. So anyway, I have a video explaining how to do that a little bit more efficiently, but yeah, that's all you have to do. And yeah, we're going to train up Windstorm. And boom, that's it. That's all we want from the Storm School. I mean, you can look in all the other stuff. I don't really think you necessarily need it, but yeah, that's all I wanted from the Storm School in general. And now on to the Ice School, I believe. And for the Ice School, we're actually going to train a few things, including a new spell that has actually been in the update lately. And this new spell is pretty interesting. I think a lot of people are going to like it. So enter the Ice School for Ravenwood or the Arcanum, it doesn't matter. We're going to Ravenwood, and over here we're going to train up Tower Shield. And again, the requirement to get Tower Shield is a Evil Snowman, which we have upgraded with our Spellman. And I'm only training these spells based on player observations. Some people wanted to train up all the dispels, or some people wanted to train Tower Shield. And so this is one of those methods in order to train Tower Shield. It's a minus 50% to the next attack spell. So again, pretty versatile spell to use. And then over here, we're going to go over here. And now we are going to learn the Impair spell. And this spell basically removes up to 3 charms off of a target for 2 pips. That's gonna come in handy for a lot of situations. Now, a lot of people might not even want it. You might say, hey, let me just cast an Enfeeble or something like that. I just like this because I can put it in my main hand. And you'll see that with some of the new spells that they're just nice to have as a main hand deck. Of course, you can put it in your TC deck, or if you don't want to spend the training points on it, then again, you can just buy some treasure cards. But also, you have to complete the quest No Pain, No Aggravain, which I believe is one of the quests in Azteca. Some of these will require you to do a specific quest, which I'm sure everybody has done at this point, so you don't have to worry about that. And of course, you do have to be a level 72 to unlock this in the first place. But anyways, yeah, we're going to train that up, and then boom, we have Impair. This is just a nice little utility spell, in a sense. And then over here for the Fire School, there's nothing that I really want from the Fire School. Apologies for all the Fire Wizards out there, but there really isn't nothing that I really need from the Fire School. There is Napta Scarab, but I just don't need that. I don't go raiding anymore, so I don't really need any of the Fire School spells. Maybe one day if I'm just lazy, but I just don't really need it in a sense. But we are going to go to the Myth School because there is something that we would actually want from the Myth School. If you go all the way over here, you're going to see Purge. And this is probably one of the best spells I highly recommend to get. But for the cost of 2 pips, and again, at level 72 rank required, you can basically remove up to 3 debuff charms. So you can basically remove 3 negative charms off of a target. And this is great. Of course, you can just put in a treasure card cleanse charm, and that will basically save your day. However, you have to, take in consideration how there are a lot of bosses and minions and mobs that overall like to spam a lot of debuffs and weaknesses, to the point where spamming Cleanse Charm every single round in your TC deck might not be the best option. This might be a nice alternative option if you are going up against someone or something that is basically debuff spamming you. So I do highly recommend this and Impair as well. Just nice little utility spells that you can get, and you don't have to train up too hard in order to actually get this. It's its own spell. You just have to do the side quest or quest in order to unlock it. But if you don't want it and you just want to put a Cleanse Charm in your side deck, then just do that, right? And this is just a video kind of showing off some of the stuff that I will be getting with my training points. If you want to train anything else, feel free to do that. I'm just kind of showing you the locations and overall the stuff that I will be training for. Some of the stuff you might want, but it's up to you to decide. Alright, I am back, and yes, I am out of breath from running a quarter meter in this house. Yes, I am overweight. Yes, I need to hit the gym. But we are back. So that's basically all the spells that I would want in Ravenwood, or at least in this area. There's still a lot of spells that you can get in Wizard City that you might not know about. So anyway, let's keep traveling. So over here, you want to go over either to the I guess under the Rainbow Bridge, but in this case we're just going to go to Colossus Boulevard. And now we're going to go basically get the dispels, and also another spell that you might not know about. So this time you're going to go over here to Colossus Boulevard. Now Colossus Boulevard is a premium area, so you actually can't access this like at all. Even during like the free weekend that we have for like Krokotopia and stuff like that, this is not included. So you actually do need access to this area if you wanted to get these spells, which does suck. But you know, this game is stuck in 2008. It will probably never ever be free, but it is what it is. Gonna pick up a little stone block here, and you want to take the same path that I'm taking. Just come right down here, and you can check your mini map just to make sure you're going the right place. You want to go down here, and then you're going to see this little alleyway, in a sense, this kind of like secluded house area. And then you're going to go talk to the vendor over here, and this vendor is basically going to allow you to train these spells. Mildred Farseer, and then over here. So we have all of the disc spells, which for some reason people do want to train the disc spells. I don't know. I just don't really see myself spamming dispels a whole lot. Maybe a storm dispel might come in handy, but you know, I'm at the point where it's like I don't necessarily need it, and you know, if I were to need it, I would probably just use a treasure card for it. But again, it's up to your own preference. I only come to this NPC because they have the reshuffle spell, right? So here's the thing. A lot of y'all, or just a lot of people in general, do not equip a reshuffle. And what tends to happen is they have to flee and come back when their attack doesn't actually defeat the boss or, you know, minions. They just don't have any cards. So I highly recommend a reshuffle just in that sense. And if you don't, you can get a treasure card. And if you don't want to get a treasure card, you can get it as a jewel. But at the end of the day, just please, just have one reshuffle, please. I promise you it's not going to hurt you to just put one reshuffle in your treasure card deck or your TC deck. I promise it is not going to hurt you. Just please carry a reshuffle. But if you're a support player, I highly recommend a reshuffle. So over here, now we are going to go over the Rainbow Bridge. And this will basically take us to the underground area of Wizard City. It's going to take us all the way to Nightside. And now there's going to be a few spells that you can potentially get in this area. If you talk to Mortis, he'll basically have a bunch of spells that you can train for, all these distract and pacify spells, and also the infections and threefold fever. Now for me personally, at first I wanted infection and threefold, especially since they have been buffed, but in a sense you kind of have to figure that out for yourself. I think these are very powerful spells in case you're up against a boss that likes to spam heals a lot. This might be really good for also setting up negative gambits as well. Now taunt doesn't necessarily work a whole lot of times. It's still kind of just one of those spells that you don't train for, but if you want, you can train for it from Mortis. And now we're gonna go over here, and this is where we train Feint, and this comes from the Death School teacher Dworgen. And Dworgen will basically have our Feint. Now remember, we're doing the spell method, so we don't actually have to train up a whole bunch just to get Feint. The requirement for Feint is actually Vampire. I thought it was Skeletal Pirate, but it's actually just Vampire. But anyway, you're trained up for that, and then boom, you have Feint. And that's all there is to it. Now we are still not done with Wizard City. There's at least one more location that you can go to get some spells. And now we are going to talk to Dueling Diego, which has a bunch of spells from Rochambeau's or PvP only spells, and also some pretty unique utility spells that you can use for both. So yeah, we're going to check that out. He will be located in Unicorn Way outside of the arena gate. And he will basically also have the tutorials for you whenever you accept those quests. So over here, we got Stun Block, Conviction. Conviction is a nice aura to use. The problem I have with it, though, is that it's only a 90%, and I've seen so many people get stunned even when they put Conviction on, because there's that 10% chance that you will still get stunned, unfortunately. So I rather just recommend Stun Blocks, just because Stun Blocks always have a guarantee that you will not get stunned. You also get 2 of those as well. I mean, you can still run Conviction if you want. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just my own preference. And of course, over here you have a bunch of these spells that you can also get. Now remember that these are PvP only spells or advanced combat spells, meaning you cannot use them in traditional type of PvE sense. It's only for stuff like challenge mode and raids and all that other stuff. But we don't really care about that, and if you want to train for that, feel free. If you're someone that raids a lot, you probably won't even have that many training points to begin with because you're always constantly trying to fit in every single role and every single guide, you know? And again, that's all up to your preference. But that basically clears it up for Wizard City. Now we are going to go all the way to Krokotopia because Krokotopia actually has some spells that we want. There were also some other vendors as well, such as Sabrina Greenstar that's in the fairgrounds if you wanted to buy some shields and some other stuff. But I don't really think that you really need it in a sense. Maybe a storm shield might be helpful, but I don't know, I just don't really need it. I wish that you could train for like a tri-shield, which would really be cool, but sadly that is only a balance school only type of spell. But anyway, further than that, we're going to go all the way to Krokotopia because there are actually a lot of spells that are in Krokotopia that we can potentially get. And like I said, you don't have to follow this exact guide. You can get whatever spells you want, whenever you want. Just make sure you're keeping track of your training points. So over here, we're going to go to Krokotopia, and like I said, this is going to have a few spells. We're going over here, down here, up here, down here, whatever you want to say. And we're actually going to talk to the Krokotopia tree. The reason I'm not skipping or editing this video is because I want to let you guys see the path on where I go. I know a lot of people get confused on where to go or how to get from location to point B. You can just skip ahead in the video if you just want to see the vendor, but for just most people, some people just might not know where to go. So over here we're going to talk to Niles, and Niles is going to have a few spells for us. He'll have stuff like Elemental Trap and Elemental Blade, including the new Selenopolis stuff as well. These are the spell fusions. So for us, we're going to be getting all of this because as a support player, it's always going to come in handy just to use these whenever. And there we go. And now we have 49 training points left, and again, potentially could have more training points. We're going to go down here to the ladder, and now we are going to talk to Alzared, and basically they will have some more spells for us, and I mean a lot of spells for us. And of course, we're gonna get weakness because in order to get this, you got Scorpion. We leveled up Scorpion. Da 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 da. We're gonna get Donate Pip because we want that. Da 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 da. And then also some other stuff here as well. This is called Blade Dilution, which is a new spell. So you can clear up to 4 of the enemy charms and convert them to a 15% blade, which might actually be useful in some cases. Same thing with Trap Dilution, except this time you can basically clear a certain amount of traps, up to 4, which will convert it to a plus 20% trap. So these are pretty interesting spells. You don't have to necessarily use them. We also have a Spinning Scythe as well, which is just a regular balance attack. And then we also have the Courageous Charge, which is also pretty interesting as well. If you're a balance wizard, you get pretty much all this for free. If you're not, you gotta spend a training point. But for me, I think Blade Dilution and Trap Dilution are pretty interesting spells. And then that is going to wrap it up for everything that is in Krokotopia. So now we are actually going to go to Selenopolis, which is technically still part of Krokotopia. It's up to your opinion on what you describe Selenopolis as, but we're just going to go there now. I'm drinking this Coke that was randomly left for us. I ordered 2 french fries for the kids, and for some reason just gave us a Coke. I don't know why. It don't even taste like a Coke. I'm pretty sure there's like a Dr. Pepper or something. So yeah, who's ever missing a Dr. Pepper, RIP. But now we're going to go to Selenopolis. Now in Selenopolis, there's not really that many spells to use unless you're in the Blended Grove. Now the Blended Grove is basically the introductory area for magic weaving. So if you haven't done the magic weaving quest already, you unlock that after you complete Darkmoor, not Darkmoor, but Dragonspire. So you'll see a lot of mixed levels around here, like level 50s, level 54s, max level people do it. But we're basically going to go to the Blended Grove because that is also where we can get some of our spells. Now, the thing about these spells, listen up, that these are magic weaving specific spells. So you actually have to choose a magic weaving school that you want, like Storm, Fire, Ice, whatever you want. And then you'll basically have access to your specific spell. You can't just get all of these spells when you reset your school. You will basically lose access to those specific magic weaving spells, in a sense. So I'm going to talk to you, Surge, over here. We're going to train. We're going to train for Energy Blade, which we have learned, right? This is for Storm magic weaving only, right? Life school only. So we're going to train that. And then over here we have Lord of Lightning, which is a pretty good spell. If you're dual schooling, I don't think you necessarily need it, but if you want, it's there. So yeah, have fun with that. We're going to train for it, because why not? And then that's basically all there is for Krokotopia and Selenopolis. And like I said, all of these schools will have their own type of stuff, right? And it's only going to be specific for your school only. So if you're a Storm Wizard, you're going to see Storm Wizard weaving into like stuff like ice and stuff like that. It's all going to be different. So make sure to do that and have fun with that. It's definitely a drag, and I definitely don't want to do magic weaving anymore after doing all the labors and all of the ranks. I'm sure some people know how I understand what I'm saying, because it's just a lot of work. It's very obnoxious. But now let's go on to the next area, which I believe will be Avalon. I believe so. I believe that will be the next world that will have, I guess, certain spells that we would technically want. Of course, you can go to other stuff, but we're not going there. Now, remember, the Arcanum has some of the Astral spells, so we don't have to go to like stuff like Celestia unless you want some polymorphs, but we're not really worried about polymorphs right now. We're going to go to Avalon, and we are going to teleport to the Wild. Hopefully you have that teleport unlocked. And then we are going to go over here to the Toadstool Village. And this is basically where you're going to find Cassie the Ponycorn. And she will basically have a bunch of prisms. I'm going to train up for Storm Prisms because for some reason, a lot of Storm Wizards do not have Mass Storm Prisms or just Prisms in the deck already. So that's just a nice little handy thing to carry in case they don't have it. For some reason, they never carry it. I guess I just have bad experience with Storm Wizards. As a matter of fact, you'll see me throughout this entire video kind of mimic Storm Wizards because they just generally don't. I've just been traumatized by Storm Wizards, man. Anyway, going on from over here, you're going to go to the Fire Elf Village, and this will also have some pretty unique spells as well that you don't necessarily need, but it's here in case you wanted it. Over here, we're going to see a bunch of spears. If you don't know, the spear blades are basically going to increase your pierce up to 20%, and that's a big percentage for pierce. So we're going to train up the Elemental Spear, and then also the Spirit Spear. And now I'm not training up the Storm Spear. Hopefully you guys have a good enough pierce already. You don't actually need to even train for this. It's just a nice little extra buff, especially if a target has a lot of resist. But anyway, that ends it for Avalon. So now I believe the last place we're going to go to is the Arcanum, because the Arcanum has a wide range of variety of pretty much everything. Like, you can literally get whatever you want in the Arcanum. Now, of course, you can go to Chrysalis to get those moon spells, but yeah, I think they're a little outdated and you don't really need them. So anyway, let's go over here to the main center of the area. We're going to go over here to the left and go to the Shadow School Teacher, which is going to be Velma, and she is going to have a lot, and I mean a lot of versatile spells, including some new ones that you might be interested in utilizing. So over here, we're going to talk to Velma, and she, again, is going to have a lot of stuff. We'll start off with some of the two new stuff. Let's go with Writing of the Scales. This is actually one of those raid spells that they actually made for everybody, which is awesome. And as you can see here, you can either clear a shield or trap, on a target for Pip on target, and then you can also clear a shield or trap on the caster for a Pip on the caster 3 times, which is pretty awesome. This is a really versatile spell. It's kind of like a give and take. You're going to be giving the enemy some pips, but you're also going to be taking away any shields or traps off of them and you. So in a sense, this is a really versatile spell, and I think a lot of players are going to like this. Personally, for me, I am going to be training for it because I've always wanted to use these kinds of spells in traditional PvE instead of raids. So I highly recommend it. If you don't want it, you don't have to get it, but remember, it also costs a Shadow Pip as well. So if you don't even know what's on the card, I wouldn't recommend. Like, if you can't read the spell at all and it looks like it's just a little bit too much work, I really wouldn't recommend training up for some of these spells, especially if you don't know how to actually use it. Now, we also have Eye of Vigilance, which is pretty similar. This one is just for charms and debuffs as well. So, again, pretty cool stuff, you know. Sometimes you might... maybe you want to use it instead of Impair or Purge or something like that. You know, it's up to you. And then we also have Dark Surge, which is pretty awesome. For 1 Shadow Pip, you can basically give 2 whole power pips to a person or target, which is really interesting. I highly recommend this spell if you are a support player. This is going to come in handy for a lot of ways. Now, you also have Donate Shadow, which is really bad, and I really do wish they would rework this, but you can basically give 1 Shadow Pip to a target, but it's for the price of 2 whole Shadow Pips. This, I may have used this like once in my entire lifetime, and I just stopped using it after that. Just because it just doesn't seem like a fun spell to use. It's also at an accuracy of 75%, so you do actually have a chance to actually fizzle this. So it's up to you if you want to get this. I just don't see myself using it unless I just don't use my Shadow Pips, which I will mainly use for the other spells that I just mentioned. Over here, we're going to get Shadow Strike, which basically gives you a 50% pierce plus 10% damage and then minus 25% incoming healing. This is a very good Shadow type of transformation. I highly recommend it. And then we have Shadow Sentinel, which I really do wish they would kind of, I guess, rework it in a sense. You can intercept 1 plus 80% critical block and then also minus 10% incoming damage. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. This one's pretty good if you're tanking, so I highly recommend it if you're in the tanking field of things. You also have Dark Fiend, and then you also have Dark Nova. You don't necessarily need these. They do a lot of damage if you're following the conditions for them, but I don't really think you need them in a sense. They also cost 2 Shadow Pips, but that's up to you to decide. I don't really think you need them, but that's all for Velma, and now we're going to talk to Qyburn Stellar Gaze. And by the way, make sure to check in with all your Arcanum school teachers, because they also will have spells that some of the Ravenwood professors won't actually have. So make sure you check that out as well. So over here, Qyburn. This is going to be where we spend the most amount of training points, because there are so many Astral spells in the game. Now, first things first, let's just get the damage enchant out of the way, because understandably, there's just no way out of it. You just have to have a damage enchant in case you're doing attack damage. You don't have to train for it. You can also have the jewel like I do, but it is nice just to have it in your deck and just available in general, just so you don't have to worry about anything else. So we're going to train up for all of the damage enchants, which will basically increase the damage potential of a specific damage spell. We've been using it for so many years. And then here we go. Oh, on to the next page. Epic. And then over here, that is pretty much all of the damage enchants. Now let's talk about the auras. There are a ton, and I mean a ton of new auras, including new weakening auras as well. These are like types of damaging auras that can kind of hurt the target. As you can see, there we got Pathogen, which is a minus 50% incoming healing to the target, or at least minus 50% outgoing healing in a sense. This one's really good. I highly recommend it. And then over here we got Fortify. We're not going to train that yet. Let's go for Starfall, which is going to basically decrease the damage of a certain target for 4 rounds by 15%, which is also very good. And then we got Attenuate, which is also a very good spell. This is going to increase the damage that a target takes for 20% for 4 rounds. Make sure to train that up as well. And then we also have Empowerment, which you gain 1 pip from incoming spells that are rank 4+. I highly recommend that, because I'm usually getting hit by a lot of rank 4 spells. And then over here, we're also going to train up for Empowerment, or not Empowerment, but Adapt. Now, Adapt is situational in a sense. You will gain a power pip from incoming spells that are ranked 6 and up. So if you're getting hit with stuff like maybe a Centaur, I believe a Centaur is a 6 pip, you'll basically get a power pip from that. Now, in some situations, you might have some bosses or enemies that will just hit you with low pip stuff. That's usually where I use Empowerment for, just to make sure that I'm having a nice pip flow in general. So it's up to you, but personally, I recommend just training both depending on what enemy you're going up against. Now, let's also train up for some of the other auras as well. We have Stabilize, which is pretty awesome. It's a minus 25% damage reduction to yourself. That's going to be really great. And then we also have, whatchamacallit, a bunch of utility spells. Now, where was the other one I saw? There was something called Cosmic Charge. Here it is. This one is a 20% increase to your outgoing Pierce, which is really good. Now, the thing about this aura is that it does take at least 1 pip. But we're going to train for that either way because, hey, why not, you know? Might as well train up for all of it. Now, we also have a Cycle of Life, which is really good. This is a plus 25% outgoing healing, plus a 5% pip chance bonus, plus 10% incoming death damage for 4 rounds. I don't think you really have to worry about the 10% increase to death damage, especially if you're going up against a target that doesn't actually do death damage. So I think it's definitely worth getting Cycle of Life. It also just looks prettier in general rather than Renew. And I'm also going to train up Fortify because I do need that as one of the prerequisites to get the other one called Stabilize. And you'll notice that with some of these auras that you'll need to train some of them up in order to unlock the last one. So we got Stabilize right here. Perfect. And then we're going to train up for Berserk, which is going to increase our damage. It also increases the damage that we take. And then we're going to get Frenzy, which is going to give us a 40% outgoing damage and a plus 30% incoming damage. You might not want to use Frenzy. Maybe you want to have a Reinforced if you have a Reinforced pet. And then also we're going to get Infallible, or Infallible, however you pronounce that. I apologize. And then we're going to level up our Cosmic Charge. Not level up, but train it in a sense. You don't really need the school damage auras. I feel like these are one of those things that are kind of outdated. You can use it if you want. I don't really know if you really need it. In a sense, it's kind of like up to your own opinion on what you want to do with that. I personally don't think it's going to be useful. But if you want to use it, do it. Then we have Potent Trap, which is basically a plus 10% to any trap spell. We're going to use that. And then over here, if you're a healer, I highly recommend Primordial. This is going to increase a healing spell that you have to plus 100. So make sure you have that as a little healing enchantment. And then over here, where is it? Sharpened Blade, which is also a plus 10% to a blade spell. You probably already know these spells, so you can skip ahead in the video. And then we have Aegis. Now, Aegis, surprisingly, a lot of people don't know about Aegis. This has been a spell that's been in the game for quite some time. And I don't know if it's just that people don't either know about it or use it, but this is a really good spell in certain boss fights and situations. But it basically protects a shield or charm from 1 removal. So, for example, if I had something like something that takes away blades, then, this could be a nice counter to it. But a lot of people don't really equip it or kind of forget about it. And you can get this from Qyburn. Qyburn will have all the spells. I highly recommend Aegis. Please get Aegis, man. Please. I highly recommend it. We also got Indemnity. This will basically protect traps and also debuffs from one removal as well. So that's also a very good one to have as well. Up next, we're going to have Radical, which is basically going to increase one of our healing spells by plus 150%, or just 150. Oh! I trained the wrong spell, but that is fine. That is fine. Oh my gosh. There's Radical. We just trained up for something else. Ugh, that's going to suck. I'm going to have to redo that later. And what else can we get from here? I mean, that's pretty much it, honestly, guys. That is pretty much it. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. You have Mend, which is also kind of like an outgoing healing spell, and then you have Renew. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, guys, honestly. I don't really know what else to get. I mean, maybe some of these other enchants. I mean, why not? Do you need more accuracy for one of your spells? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what other spells that you need, and that's when it comes to your own opinion. Like, that's when it comes to your own thought process on what you will do with your spells. You probably won't even have this many training points to begin with, depending on your level or depending on what else you train for. But, yeah, honestly, just train up for whatever you want. I might as well just go for these accuracy ones. I always had a thing for accuracy. Might as well train them up. And then why not? We'll just put Devotion in there. Why not? And then, I mean, that's honestly it. That's the only thing I can think of, you guys. I can't think of anything else regarding spells that I would need. I think we got pretty much all of them. So that's going to wrap it up for the video. Hopefully that gives you a good idea on kind of how to build your spell deck. There's also lore spells that you can get by getting enough spellments as well. So don't think you have to copy this entire guide word for word. Just get as many spells as you want and make sure you are utilizing all your training points. We're kind of left off with 3 training points. Technically, we could end up with more if I just kind of got rid of a few things that I don't actually need, but thought that might be a great video to kind of help you guys out, kind of build your decks and kind of, figure out what to do with your training points. The main synopsis is that you can't just train for every single spell in this game. You are limited on your training points, and it's only a matter of time before, if we get even more training points, or, whatever KI wants to do as a game company, if they want to keep giving us more training points, that would be great. Maybe put in a Zeke quest or 2 in Selenopolis. I think that would have been great. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But like I said, just use your training points wisely and do take advantage of this membership benefit, because you don't have to spend any crowns on it if you have a member. So make sure to take advantage of the free training point buyback. Until then, I will see you guys later. Tons of spells out there. And yeah, I will see you guys later. Peace out.